prayer or meditation. Please be seated. The Secretary will read the order.
Debate on vote number 30, Communications and Digital Technologies.
The Honorable, the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, invited to the podium.
House Chair, Honorable Deputy Minister of Communication and Digital Technology, Mr. Philip Pulane, Ministers and Deputy Ministers, Chairperson of Portfolio Committee on Communication, Mr. Boyce Manelli, and members of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Members of Parliament, Acting Director General, Ms. Nomkubela Jordan, her team, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Growing up as a young man in Engcobo, in the Eastern Cape, I could never imagine a time when my fellow villagers would be able to sit in the comfort of their homes, Kuchaba and Bojane, and watch a live budget vote debate taking place in Cape Town through their televisions, radios, and various online digital platforms. It is astounding how far communications and digital technologies have come over years. Today, my daughter Lihle Kungubele is currently following this very debate on her mobile phone via SABC Plus app while she is abroad in Cuba. It is remarkable. As a citizen, I'm happy to see this advancement in our society and how technology has made it possible for people to stay informed regardless of their location. As the Department of Communication and Digital Technologies, our goal is to enable the digital sector to grow to its full potential, whilst guaranteeing that everyone has access to reliable, affordable, and high-speed connectivity. To ensure an inclusive digital economy, we will massify digital skills creation and create an enabling environment that supports the creation of innovative digital solutions and can be commercialized to support livelihoods. The budget votes debate coincides with the commemoration of World Telecommunication and Information Society Day, observed annually on May 17th, worldwide since 1969. The main objective of this day is to reduce the global digital divide by promoting awareness of socio-economic impacts of internet and new information and communications technologies. Honorable Chair, ladies and gentlemen, it is imperative that we provide policy certainty to allow growth of our digital economy. As such, we must shift from traditional one-size-fits-all regulations that sometimes inhibit innovations and global competitiveness, as well as deny agility to new entrants and small enterprises. Our philosophy should be to implement smarter policies and regulations that will significantly increase the sector's growth whilst protecting the digital sovereignty of our nation and our inclusivity imperatives. Honorable Chair, in his 2023 State of Nation Address, His Excellency President Ramaphosa highlighted the country's vision of providing affordable high-speed internet access to all. As a department, we are committed to realizing this vision through various programs and legislative interventions. In connecting our country, South Africa is widely recognized as having one of the most advanced digital ecosystems in the continent. Its key features include over 300,000 kilometers of fiber distributed across the country, which is the result of significant investment by both the public and private sector. This country has the advantage of being connected to 8 undersea cables that physically connect this continent to neighboring continents. We want to acknowledge the landing of the 2A Africa submarine cable by Vodacom in the Eastern Cape earlier this year. We also want to highlight the Equiano cable by Google, working with Telecom, which will provide exponential capacity to the digital ecosystem. I recently visited its location here in Western Cape, and it is exciting to know that this cable alone will triple the internet speed in the country and significantly reduce the cost of data. Through our flagship program, SA Connect, we are dedicated to bridging the digital divide by providing Wi-Fi access to communities and ensuring universal access to the internet. This year, we plan to deploy 9,900 hotspots in 16 districts across the country, and we aim to reach 80% connectivity by 2024. To fund this project, we have allocated 1.3 billion. In the previous financial year, the department was successful in maintaining its 970 connected sites. In addition, during that period, SITA connected 781 government sites in the Eastern Cape, whilst PBI connected 110 USASA sites. Furthermore, Honorable Chair, the department played an instrumental role in facilitating the development of SA Connect Draft Implementation Plan. Our aim is to enhance connectivity to government facilities such as schools, health facilities, and government offices with a high-speed internet access, which enable them to serve as connectivity hubs for their users and surrounding communities. Completing the SA Connect program, SITA will launch a national broadband project worth at least 6 billion that will be awarded per region and ensure that government reduces the cost and duplication of connectivity infrastructure from municipality up to national government level. The project must also ensure that designated groups such as enterprises owned by women and youth are empowered with at least 40% value of this project, whilst creating opportunities for innovative, locally developed solutions to find traction in our market. It is important to note that while big business plays a significant role in driving growth and innovation, we should not overlook the potential of small startups to be game changers in innovation, as demonstrated by success stories like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk. Lessons from Silicon Valley show that new small enterprises can become the basis for new digital unicorns. Therefore, inclusion is not just a moral imperative, but it is also an economic necessity. Furthermore, I would like to add that we have witnessed significant investments in data centers and cloud service providers, which will contribute significantly to the economy by enabling efficient storage and dissemination of data, as well as access to digital solutions. The country has a total of 65 data centers, making us the leading African digital economy. As department, we are committed to maximize the benefit of this investment by ensuring policy certainty through launching the National Cloud and Data Policy later this year. The policy will outline guidelines for government departments to consume cloud services appropriately while adhering to data privacy and security measures agreed upon with relevant providers. This will help the government to make informed decisions and choose the best cloud services in line with our requirements and standards. With regard to the next generation spectrum, Honorable Chair, ladies and gentlemen, spectrum is a very important resource in the digital economy. It allows for the transmission of radio frequencies that allow wireless signals to travel. These signals are essential in enabling us to make calls, chat on social media, and supporting digital communication in areas such as defense, aviation, and maritime. In essence, spectrum is the backbone that supports our connected world, and without it, would not be able to stay connected with each other. I am pleased, Honorable Chair, to inform you that the Department has published a draft Next Generation Spectrum Policy for public comment in September 2022. The policy aims to allocate as much of the spectrum as possible to support the modernization of the economy. The new set-aside provision for the allocation of spectrum for women, youth, and SMEs are a game changer for this policy. It allows new entrants to participate in the economy and stimulate growth. I will be issuing the final spectrum policy by September 2023, and after that, ICASA will be responsible for licensing thereafter. Honorable members, Honorable Chair, we understand that South Africa has some of the most expensive mobile data plans in the world. In fact, the country ranks 136th out of 233 countries. To address this issue, ICASA will be publishing the outcome of the call termination rate and data market study this financial year. This will give more transparency and help to respond to public outcry regarding the high cost of data in South Africa. We are committed to the struggle for #data must fall. On the migration of the Broadcasting Corporation, Broadcasting Television, my apology, when delivering the 2023 SONA, the President announced that during the course of this year, we will migrate remaining households to digital television signal and complete the switch off of analog transmission. This will release valuable spectrum for the rollout of 5G mobile networks and will reduce the cost of data. A total of 5 of our 9 provinces, Free State, Northern Cape, Northwest, Limpopo, and Mpumalanga, have already successfully switched off and are currently receiving television broadcast on digital platform. Despite the successful switch off of the 5 provinces, the Minister of the Department faced legal action, my predecessor, from stakeholders who argued that the switch off process should not be concluded without greater engagement with the stakeholders. The court ruled that further consultation with stakeholders was necessary before proceeding with the analog switch off. In December 2022, the Minister proposed March 31, 2023 as the date of the analog switch off, and stakeholders who would be affected by this were invited to provide their feedback and suggestions, which they did by the end of September. On December 9, 2022, a government gazette was published which notified and invited the industry, affected parties, and members of the public to make substantive submissions. The department is extensively engaging with the various stakeholders and role players to ensure broad and substantive consultation regarding the transition from analog to digital broadcasting. In the meantime, we are continuing to install set-top boxes for outstanding households. Once this consultation process is completed, we will announce the final date for the analog switch off, which will be very soon, which will free up much needed spectrum in accordance with the President's directive. We must state that there is a consensus in the sector that it is deemed necessary to conclude the PDM project. Hence, we have decided to switch off the remaining 151 transmitters in the remaining 4 provinces. The department aims to conclude the distribution of available set-top box to be registered to the registered indigent households as soon as possible. On the digitalization of the state, House Chairperson, the department welcomes the initiative by the government departments, including Home Affairs, South African Police Service, and others, towards digitalizing their paper-based records into digital format. However, our department and its entities remain committed to ensuring that government fully digitalize its services in the medium-term expenditure framework moment. The State Information Technology Agency, which is SITA, needs to re-establish itself as the leading expert on ICT matters in government rather than just being an IT procurement shop. To achieve this, the agency must prioritize the integration of core government services within this financial year to finalize seamless exchange of citizen data across departments for the effective and efficient delivery of government services. Additionally, SETA needs to ensure full digitalization within MTF. On the post office of tomorrow, honorable members, we are well aware of the challenges facing the South African Post Office. We want to assure you that we have been working tirelessly with the entity to explore various options to find an optimal approach within the legal framework under the provisional liquidation order. Our aim is to save the entity and ensure business continuity. We have also engaged with Cabinet, as we previously reported to this House, to find an optimal approach to ensure business continuity. It is important to note that South African Post Office remains fully operational and committed to delivering essential services to the people of South Africa. Despite the current challenges, the public can still expect to receive their letterpost, courier packages, renew their vehicle licenses, withdraw their social grants, and receive their chronic medication through medication through SAPO. The Post Office of Tomorrow strategy will also aim to improve the customer experience by simplifying and streamlining processes, as well as increasing accessibility and convenience. This will be achieved through innovative technology solutions such as online portals and mobile applications, as well as enhancing the efficiency of existing postal services. With these efforts, SAPO will be able to remain relevant and competitive in the rapidly evolving digital age. Aligned with the MTSF framework 2019-24, the Post Office of Tomorrow plan revises a strategic role of SA Post Office from a conveyor of letterpost to an integrated logistic and e-commerce service provider, including designation as the national authentication. Repositioning our public broadcaster. After necessary process of cross-checking and clarifications, the SABC board was appointed by the President on the 18th of April 2023. Our commitment is to support and guide the board in their process of taking the SABC to great heights in their 5-year term. I wish to commend the management of the SABC for keeping the public broadcaster afloat in the extended absence of the board. The SABC faces 3 critical imperatives to succeed as a public broadcaster: to establish trust, 1, to showcase multilingual content, and to promote developmental quality programming. Additionally, it must successfully transition to the new digital landscape and achieve commercial and financial sustainability. The newly appointed board is tasked with finding an optimal strategy and business model that can meet all 3 of these objectives. However, Honorable Chair, this process also requires an enabling policy and regulatory framework that is both agile and balanced, which the government must provide. The resulting guidelines should inform the SABC's corporate plan for 2023, 2025, 26. Amongst the interventions we are making is to improve how we acquire content to enable the SABC to compete for the best content with the other commercial broadcasters. In addition, we have applied and have been granted for a limited period exemption from some of the public procurement regulations. We will also be introducing the SABC Amendment Bill to Parliament, which aims to, amongst other things, to separate the public and commercial services of the SABC to enhance the monetizing of the commercial opportunities. It will also allow the public broadcaster an expanded set of platforms for its execution of its public service mandate, which will include disseminating content of community broadcasters. The department will use its budget to bridge the digital divide and build an inclusive digital economy. The total budget for the department 2023-24 is 3.5 billion, of which 1.6 billion is for transfers and subsidies of ICT enterprise development and SOEC oversight. The Deputy Minister will further elaborate on the work we are doing in relation to digital skills and the interface with various international bodies. In conclusion, honorable members, we have accepted the responsibility as executive and yourselves as legislators to be worthy custodians of the digital future of our country. If we fall behind in our execution, we'll lose our ability to trade effectively. We would have especially betrayed our young people who are intended to be biggest beneficiaries of fast-growing and inclusive digital economy. We dare not fail them. The appropriation for DCTT is hereby tabled, and I invite members to support the budget. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The Honorable Manele, the next speaker.
The chief that you put, I'll replace them. Which ones are they?
Honorable Vice Chairperson, Honorable Minister Kongubele, and Deputy Minister Mapulane, honorable members, titled Capitalism, Coronavirus and War, Professor Adiga Desai argues that the world order is changing towards multipolarity, wherein the majority breaks free from imperialism and neoliberalism. Our generation bears witness to a profound geopolitical transformation last seen a century ago. The majority of people and countries around the world are rejecting the so-called Code Washington Consensus, which prescribed privatization of SOEs, deregulation, contracting out of public services, and attacks on wages. The ANC has always advocated for a mixed economy with public and private ownership playing complementary roles in economic development. Any decision on public or private ownership in a given economic sector should be made on the balance of evidence. Our mandate is to deal decisively with the structural inequalities, unemployment, and poverty inherited from apartheid rule. Government's vision for a digital revolution will position the department as a leader in enabling a connected and digitally transformed South Africa. Communications and digital technologies contribute to lowering the costs of living and doing business, enabling better government service provision, increasing productivity, encouraging innovation, reducing unemployment, and providing the poor with access to economic opportunities. Communication technologies can also enhance the development goals of the country. That is why we welcome the focus of the department over the medium term on coordinating the rollout of broadband into unserviced areas throughout South Africa, through South Africa Connect project. And I want to say, Honorable Chair, Hope Town in the Northern Cape, the clinic, the primary school, the community hall are now hotspot areas that benefit the immediate communities out of such projects. Of course, that enabling digital transformation and inclusion through legislative and regulatory interventions. The ANC government is committed to an ICT value chain and sector that is transformative in nature, wherein everyone is included with a particular focus on the marginalized areas of our country, such as the rural areas and townships. Honorable House Chair, we note that an estimated 52.7%, which is 5.1 billion rands, of the department's budget of 10.5 billion over the MTF period is allocated to transfers to entities for their operations and for the project-specific funding. And that of this amount, 1.6 billion rands is allocated to the South African Post Office for its universal service obligations to provide postal services in underserviced areas, and 720.8 million rands to the South African Broadcasting Corporation to support its mandate including 35 million rands for the coverage of the national and provincial elections. We note that total expenditure is expected to decrease at an average annual rate of 3.9% from 2.9 billion rands in 2022-23 to 2.6 billion rands in 2025-2026 as additional allocations to ICASA and USAF for broadcasting digital migration come to an end. Honorable members, as we debated the issue about provisional liquidation of SAPO 2 weeks ago, we made it categorically clear that the ANC remains committed to keeping the South African Post Office operational and helping it plead its business case by successfully implementing the SAPO of Tomorrow strategy. This entity's geographic footprint is an irreplaceable resource for the country. SAPO has access to 12 million households throughout the national address database and administers around 800,000 parcels in terms of volume. In terms of the Post Bank, South Africa remains one of the few countries that do not have a state bank. This has left a vacuum for commercial banks to monopolize the financial sector and exclude millions of poor people from banking services and stretching the middle strata with high interest rates and rising cost of living. The process of converting Post Bank into a fully fledged bank must be completed and finalized. The African National Congress has long envisioned an inclusive financial sector wherein its activities help transform social power relationships and build institutional capacity in historically oppressed communities to break the cycle of dependency. We are encouraged to see the Post Bank has established a clear plan and vision to ensure that the necessary competencies are in place and that the bank optimally functions to deliver on its core mandate. And these include, without exhausting them, growing the liability book by average of 8% per annum for the 2024 financial year, given the expected finalization of critical enabling IT projects and the introduction of new product and channels, launch of ATM channels, POS and pilot branches, resolving outstanding audit issues and finalizing submission of banking license. Even honorable members in the opposition benches can attest that good work is being done in the entity, as we're all impressed by Post Bank's presentation when they appeared before the committee a couple of weeks ago. Of course, denying it, as we would be debating, is always an expected thing, that they will not stand with the truth when that truth coincides with what they regard as opponents is said. Honorable House Chair, we note that the SABC has not tabled its annual performance plan before the committee owing to the induction of the new board. We also note that they have been able to meet 96% of implementation in terms of its turnaround plan, which is in line with the conditions of the bailout. The committee has also noted that 93% of the 3.2 billion bailout funding provided by National Treasury has been utilized, and we can attest to some of the progress, particularly as it relates to content and creation of SABC Plus, which provides 24-hour viewership to SABC Sports and News. The ANC supports that over the medium term, the corporation will focus on implementing the growth phase of its turnaround plan, which involves initiatives to improve performance by offering new content and multiple platforms and optimizing operations to generate revenue and ensure financial recovery. On the state digital company, Honorable Chair, as I conclude, honorable members, I look forward to the work government is doing to create the state digital company. This has been through the measure of BBI and Centec. Centec has made an offer to acquire 74% of BBI shares held by government through the minister, and has subsequently drafted and submitted a due diligence report, which will be to ensure that the interests of both parties are taken into account. We are pleased with the work of Centec and the healthy balance sheet the entity has generated for itself, considering that it is not funded by government and this is a good story that you'll never hear being told. We are confident that it has all the necessary competencies and resources in place to lead our state digital company for the benefit of our people. The broadcasting digital migration that has provided the people of Senegal in Free State access to more SABC channels, and for the first time, the Parliament channel, so that when you say fellow South Africans, you do not talk only to those that have got paid channels, but even to the poor, and that's for the first time. Compliments to the African National Congress for bringing this to our people, and it served therefore as evidence. The repurposing of SETA, another state-owned enterprise that is self-funded, not funded by government, is on course and better positioned to support the state digital infrastructure company as the state ICT company. This, Honorable House Chair, guarantees the digitization of both government and society in general. And SETA has already started playing this role by keeping our sites where BBI has played the role of putting the infrastructure to keep them working. Honorable House Chair, as people who go out and do the oversight, this committee boasts itself for having visited these areas, including the constituency that is claimed on the left. And we have testimony of a principal who was very happy with the services that are given by the government. And this includes, for that matter, a municipality, Hope Town. In that municipality, the mayor comes from the EFF, not even from us, who also concede that the African National Congress has delivered the services to the people and that they can access broadband. I thank you, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Mansoni. Honorable Mansoni, you are the next speaker.
Honourable Minister, Honourable Deputy Minister, a special greeting to the Minister's daughter who's watching us today in Cuba. I'd like to say hello to her too. Unfortunately, my 84-year-old mother who's in Pretoria can't watch me today because she's in the grips of load shedding. Unfortunately, we live in a country with very little ability to communicate. After what can only be described as a laughable interrogation by the countless entities that fall within this department, all draining the national fiscus, and so many that could be incorporated into the same entity, one can see that this department is nothing more than a job-creating centre for the ANC and a place to put its cadres when they are sent or moved from other departments or need a place to be deployed. Apart from SETA, I saw very little to no enthusiasm or possibility of functionality. And we have to be honest, given the state of the post office, who is going to trust the post bank? So, Deputy Minister, I'm afraid I'm one of the people who came out openly and told the post bank, I have no trust in them. Without a doubt, the biggest concern for South Africa at the moment is our electricity crisis and the crisis at the post office. It can now be declared without any doubt that the ANC has the reverse Midas touch. Everything it touches turns to broke. The gold is long gone. The struggling state-owned entity has been in a dreadful economic state for years now, but it has now reached its financial end. Since 2013, the South African Post Office has been losing millions in taxpayers' money, and these losses are steadily increasing. As a result, it has been forced to cut most of its workforce, and most post offices, including Hope Town, have been shut down. We are told yet again that the South African Post Office has developed a bankable strategy to transform the entity and make it into a profitable business once again. What a beautiful dream. A new strategy suited to this age and time. What a wonderful dream. We have heard it and seen it all before. The question remains, who stole the billions of rands? And where are these massive bailouts supposed to come from? My Broadband reported that the company's latest financial statements for the period ending March 2022 showed that its debt was 4 billion rand more than its assets, and that it owed over 4.4 billion rand to its creditors. Imagine where we stand 1 year later. The South African Post Office was placed in provisional liquidation this month following a creditor approaching the Pretoria High Court to recover back rent. Legal experts from Barnard Inc. attorneys noted that the company is technically insolvent. Management and creditors have until the 1st of June to argue their case, said these legal experts. During a provisional liquidation, a company's assets are temporarily frozen, allowing for investigations into its financial status. SAPO has appointed provisional liquidators to manage its assets, verify its creditors' claims, and collect its debts. Private companies are now competing where the post office should be winning, and our failing institution continues to lose just more money. But what do we ask for? Another bailout. Where is the 8 billion rand in bailouts that the South African Post Office has already received? At what point will the ANC realize there is no money left? It is gone. It is finished. The company has been a constant drain on the economy, and it is yet another example of mismanagement at a state-owned entity. Some have argued that this liquidation would be more beneficial to the country than trying to get it to run profitably. How can we not see the corruption and mismanagement it will cause when the Postbank spokesperson, Dr. Bongani Diako, says that social grant recipients will can continue to use their expired cards at ATMs and point of sales without the need to collect new cards or switch to other banks? The writing is on the wall. The most vulnerable of our society are told this great news that they have nothing to worry about, yet we can already see the disaster unfolding before our eyes. The fact is that we have to worry. We have to worry all the time. And the reality is that the South African Post Office is a state-captured entity, as per the Zondo report, and we dare not rest. Minister, please listen to me. We dare not rest until we have a full inquiry a la Eskom style to find out who stole the money, where the money went, and I can guarantee you we might find quite a lot in Dubai, and where a certain family has now taken up refuge from being able to be expedited to South Africa. The feeding from the trough will never end. We did it with Eskom, and Judge Zondo has made it clear that we have a job to expose those who robbed South Africa blind. I realize that we have very little time left before the election, Minister and Deputy Minister, but I think that we've done it once and we can do it again. Let's show South Africa what Team South Africa really is about yet again. Let us restore some kind of hope, because many feel incredibly hopeless, especially me, after I returned to this entity that I loved with all my heart. This I can guarantee you, Minister. Before my term has ended, I will find these people, I will lay charges, I will make sure they are punished, and I will make sure that by the time this term ends, they're sitting in orange overalls in Pretoria Central, where they belong. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Honourable Tambo.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson, the leadership of the Chrisani Cabal, Minister Mondli Gungubele. I want to take this opportunity to wish the Revolutionary Party, the Economic Freedom Fighters, a happy 10th anniversary. The only movement that is consistently growing in South Africa and is going to lead this country in 2024. We thank the people of South Africa who have consistently been donating towards the 10th anniversary of the EFF, which will be hosted at FNB Stadium on the 29th of July. At FNB Stadium, Let us continue to support this revolutionary movement. House Chair, the Economic Freedom Fighters stands to reject this budget as meaningless and unsubstantial pretense of an intervention in a department that has been run to its knees by an incompetent ruling party. The reality of the matter is South Africa is unable to play a meaningful role in the communications and digital technology space globally due to a lack of visionary leadership and allocations for allocation's sake without any meaningful interrogation as to whether projects are seen to their completion effectively and equitably. The report stipulates that 4 provinces are yet to finalize the process of broadcast digital migration, primarily ceasing all transmissions of analog by 17 June 2015 as per the resolution by the International Telecommunications Union. This means that very soon South Africa will operate with outdated and incompatible broadcast infrastructure in terms of global standards in the Eastern Cape, Chris Hani region in particular, in KwaZulu-Natal, in the Western Cape and Gauteng. Not only does this further weaken South Africa's competence, ability in the communication sphere, but it is a gross incompetence that will undermine the fundamental right of access to information of millions of South Africans, even those that the minister is bragging can watch us here today. This is a department that is in perpetual process of finalizing but never implementing. The SA Connect program, which was adopted in 2013, and sought to prioritize access to free public Wi-Fi in schools, clinics, police and stations and other facilities, is one such a constantly being implemented program that is not materializing into reality. However, today, the most basic internal systems in the above-mentioned facilities that ought to have free Wi-Fi are inadequate. Police stations don't have basic digital systems and were still subjected to hard copy dockets that go missing, jeopardizing the fight against crime, and public clinics and hospitals are plagued by long lines and records of patients that are not kept securely. The question is then, what is happening with the budget of SA Connect, which has been part of an allocation to goods and services that amounts to 620 million? There's no meaningful reflection in this budget on the impact of load shedding on telecommunications and how it is going to be averted, or how cell phone network providers will be compelled either through legislation or penalties that will restrict their access to spectrum in order for them to reduce drastically their discriminatory costs of data. Shamefully, over the MTF, travel constituted the bulk spending, an increase from 5 million in 2023-2024 to 5.5 million in 2025-2026, while the budgeted amount for travel for the purposes of ICT research is 17.4 million. This shows that the parasitic appetite to waste money on travel and accommodation, turning this department into a vacation agency, has been inherited by the new minister, as we all know how his predecessor spent 15 million on accommodation and travel in 3 years during the restrictive COVID-19 pandemic. Across its 6 programs, where the department intends to spend 3.5 billion in the budget, 79.1 million will be spent on consultancy firms and so-called advisories, revealing grave internal state capacity and a rot. The Film and Publication Board has become a shell of an entity with no verifiable purpose, and this is sadly by no fault of its own, because our friends in the Arts and Culture Department are giving them little to no publications or films to regulate. Hence, 81% of their revenue is purely from transfers of the department. Perhaps the most laughable of the presumptions of this budget is that the revenue at the South African Post Office is expected to increase at an annual rate of 4.7%, from 5.5 billion in 2021-22 to 6.3 billion in 2024-25. People of South Africa, if you didn't know, the South African Post Office is currently under provisional liquidation, is about to close almost 50% of its operating centers due to failure to pay rent and litigation from landlords, and is so broke, I'm sure that those they call their competitors in Postnet are considering buying them out. The budget is inadequate, it's misleading, its projections are uninspiring. The Economic Freedom Fighters therefore rejects this budget. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Machoze.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Before I delve into the concerns regarding this department and its subsequent entities, allow me to open this debate with the wise words of Pope Francis, who said, and I quote, "Every man, every woman who has to take up the service of government must ask themselves 2 questions. Do I love my people in order to serve them better? Am I humble and do I listen to everybody, to diverse opinions in order to choose the best path? If you don't ask those questions, your government will not do good." and I close quote. The current state of our country clearly indicates that the ruling party is not giving any consideration to the question raised by the Pope. Over 5,000 pages in the Zondo report go into meticulous forensic detail about the way state resources were plundered by our government. Furthermore, the Public Service Commission has revealed that 520 officials in national and provincial departments have been investigated for corruption, theft, fraud, and irregular expenditure amounting to 1.2 billion. Unfortunately, this department and its entities are no different. Since 2013, the South African Post Office has been losing millions in taxpayers' money year on year, with these losses steadily increasing. The entity has been defaulting on rental payments to landlords, is owing the SA Revenue Service millions of rands for taxes relating to salary payment. And it also could not afford to pay statutory contributions on behalf of its workers. SAPO owes its creditors 4.4 billion as of 31 March 2022, and its total liability at group level exceeds its total assets by 4 billion. The state cannot continue in bailing out these entities. It does not make financial sense. Therefore, the IFP notes with concern the minister's enthusiasm for developing a bankable strategy to transform the entity and make it a profitable for business once again. Considering that the last profit SAPO reported dates all the way back to 2006, it is impossible to believe that this entity would be able to navigate the dire financial situation it has been in for nearly 16 years. This entity has been consistent drain on the economy and is another example of mismanagement as a state-owned entity. In no time, we will also be here again to approve another bailout for Postbank. By the standard of other state-owned entities, the Media Development and Diversity Agency is minuscule in an annual budget, barely 100 million. However, that does not mean its functions is unnecessary. This is an important state agency that contributes to media diversity in South Africa. Many people in South Africa for access to news and information. However, various civil society organizations has raised significant concerns regarding the MDDA's lack of transparency when it comes to the community media project it funds. Currently, there is no public list available of the projects being financed by the entity. Over the 2022-2023 financial year, the agency's legal bill amounted to over 7 million. However, allocations of the budget for litigations are estimated at 750,000 annually, meaning that the MDDA is currently overspending by 10 times in that department. Chair, the impact of corruption goes beyond the institutional weaknesses in the various government departments, as it heavily hinges on corrupt individuals. Currently, our country does not have effective system in place to deal with individuals who are corrupt. Hence, they continue to be in the position of power. This seeks to the inadequate systems of checks and balances and law enforcement ineffectiveness in dealing with corruption. Also, the department must deal with its salary bill, which is above threshold, and the bloated staff they have. Not only the department, but all its entities. We are still talking today about data must fall. Minister, let us finalize the issue of spectrum. We cannot speak about one thing over and over again. We expect to see a positive change with these entities and the department at large. The IFP supports the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Honourable Vessels.
Thank you, Honourable House Chairperson. House Chair, the Minister briefly touched on a very important aspect, and that is the fact that regulations is one of the biggest problems facing the communication environment. One example is mobile networks and the effect that load shedding has on our mobile networks and the profitability, but also the sustainability of those companies. House Chairperson, the problem is that there's regulations out there that's making it impossible for those mobile networks to comply and to actually survive. The state of disaster was intended to actually do something about that, but nothing was done. The regulations was published when the state of disaster ended. And it is extremely important that the Department of Communication intervenes and does something about this, because people without connectivity is in a very dangerous and a very detrimental situation with regards to actual economic development and taking this country forward. We can't talk about data affordability whilst load shedding has that effect and whilst it actually makes it impossible for mobile networks to operate. You know, there's regulations not only with ICASA, but also with other departments. The Competition Act makes it impossible for networks to share generators on one site. That's something that can be addressed to make it more affordable whilst we're facing the crisis of load shedding. Chairperson, then when we get to the post office, the minister says that he acknowledges the problems and the challenges, and we welcome that. But he does say that people can still expect to receive their post and their parcels, and that they will be, and they are still able to renew their motor vehicle licenses. But that's not true, Chairperson. That's not true at all, because currently the probability of receiving a parcel is less than 60%. 92 branches are already recently closed. 105 post office branches are currently locked out because of arrears to and unpaid bills, arrears to the landlords and unpaid municipal bills. The amount of arrears to landlords currently stand at more than 340 million rand. A bailout of 2.4 billion rand does not address the problems that are actually facing the post office. Only 1,122 post office branches are currently functioning. But what the minister did not mention at all is the fact that a lot of SASSA beneficiaries can't receive their SASSA grants. One example, and the minister is from the Eastern Cape. The post office in Patterson closed down. An EPWP worker or a SASSA pensioner must travel at the cost of more than 100 rand to Addo to receive a grant of 800 rand or an EPWP stipend of 850 rand. He must spend 100 rand. Then he gets to Addo and the post office is closed due to systems that's down or electricity that's not paid or cash that's not there. And then the person must spend another 120 rand to get to Alexandra. How is that fair to the people out there? The Honourable Chairperson of the committee says that the criticism of the opposition is just empty rhetoric. Go and tell that to the SASSA beneficiaries out there that's not getting their SASSA grants, that can't renew their SASSA or Post Bank cards due to post office that's closed or just not functioning. That should be addressed. And it's not criticism, it's the reality out there. And that should also be acknowledged. The delay in appointing the SABC board further created instability at the public broadcaster. And the minister must maybe explain to this parliament why the executive, why the president delayed the appointment of the board, because that was unacceptable after this parliament unanimously supported the board members. It was delayed due to political reasons and was completely unacceptable. And that's the problem with communication and the entities of communication, and that should be addressed, I think.
Thank you, Honourable Rosters. Honourable Tandy Tobias. Please mute. The Honorable, the Deputy Minister of Communications and Digital Technology.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson, Honorable Minister Gungubele, the Chairperson of our Portfolio Committee, Honorable Maneli, and other members of the committee, Honorable Members of Parliament, the Acting Director General and other senior departmental officials, esteemed guests, fellow South Africans, good afternoon. Honorable Majosi, thank you very much for the support to the budget vote, but unfortunately, MDDA does not fall within our portfolio. It's in GCIS, so you might have been debating the wrong budget vote. Yesterday, honorable members, I had an opportunity to visit Langa Township to host an ICT Career Expo at the Langa Civic Hall and to hand over electronic gadgets towards Kulani High School's computer lab. Langa, the oldest township in Cape Town, established by the colonial settlers as a reservoir for cheap labor after the passing of the Urban Areas Act in 1923, is celebrating its centenary. The rich history of this township attests to the unbreakable human spirit in fighting against segregation and injustice. Despite attempts by the colonialists to subjugate the people of Langa, the township became a theater of fierce struggle against colonialism and apartheid. We dare not forget and dishonor the memory of the sons and daughters of this historic township who refused to be treated as subhumans in the land of their birth. My budget vote speech today is dedicated to the undefeated spirit of the people of Langa, the home of King Langalibalele, the inimitable Mabr, the late Brenda Fassie, the home of the cricketer Temba Bavuma, of playwright and theater director Fatima Dike, of Thabo Mngomeni, a football star. Honorable member, despite the decline in other sectors of the economy, the digital economy continues to show a robust positive growth trajectory, growing at an average rate of 15.6% globally and accounting for 45% of global GDP. It has become a new economic engine for developing countries, growing at an average of 22.3% in the developing countries. Honorable Speaker, Honorable House Chair rather, we continue to implement the National Digital and Future Skills Strategy that was approved by Cabinet in 2020, which sets a series of initiatives intended to contribute to capacities of South Africans to contend with the rapidly changing skills landscape. To this end, I reported to this House last year that through NEMISA, we trained 6,000 people on digital literacy and a total of 7,000 on other digital skills. It is my pleasure to report that a further massive 57,000 were trained in digital literacy in the 2022-23 financial year, and we have set ourselves a target to train 8,000 more in this financial year as part of our fight against the existing digital skills divide. These compatriots are now able to use a variety of digital schools on their devices, and they have established online presence and have been provided with basic skills in cybersecurity, etc. One of the programs I've had the pleasure to champion and launch in several districts across the country is the Yarona Digital Ambassadors Program, which is a skills massification drive that seeks to intervene in addressing unemployment and to empower and upskill the unemployed youth with basic digital skills. Through these programs, we have placed 124 such ambassadors in various municipalities that we have partnered with. The aim is to increase the number of recruits to about 150 in this financial year. We have also trained through NEMISA 149 young people in cell phone repairs. All of them emerge with courses with registered businesses. We will increase this number to 90,000 this financial year. We have also trained 506 young people in creative media short courses, such as digital photography, vlogging, and storytelling using digital devices. Many of these young people have started their own enterprises, while others are freelancing. The target this financial year is to train an additional 1,000 more. Honorable Chairperson, last year we expressed our delight at the operationalization of the Films and Publication Amendment Act that expanded the mandate of the FPB from being a mere classification authority to being a truly online content regulator with powers to issue content distribution licenses, and so forth. We are delighted to report that the FPB has moved with speed to develop the online content regulator of the future strategy, which will guide it in implementing the expanded mandate, and has also developed new regulations to comply with the Act. In addition, the FPB has established an enforcement committee to deal with non-compliance. We welcome, honorable members, the recent Johannesburg High Court judgment which found Mr. Gerard Ackerman guilty of over 720 charges of child pornography. We commend the FPB team for over 2,000 materials of videos and images that the team meticulously analyzed in support of this case, resulting in a successful prosecution. On Monday, honorable members, I personally witnessed in action the close collaboration between the FPB and the police in ridding our country of the proliferation of illegal video materials flooding the market, where I was part of the joint raid together with the police in Athlone, here in Cape Town. Honorable Chair, cybersecurity has become an urgent priority in this era of the rapid advance of digital technologies and the growing confidence of society to transact online. We have a duty constitutionally to protect the fundamental rights of the people of this country. It is for this reason that the department has established a cybersecurity hub aimed at coordinating the cybersecurity domain between the private sector and civil society. On the international work, quickly, honorable members, South Africa continues to play a pivotal role in the international community, where we are a strong voice advocating the interests of developing countries in creating a sustainable and secure global ICT environments that support inclusive development. We are a member of the ITU. During last year's ITU Plenipotentiary Conference, South Africa was re-elected into the Council, and we further successfully campaigned for the re-election of our candidate from SADC, Mr. Cosmos Zavazava from Zimbabwe, to the position of the Director of Telecommunication Development. Later this year, we'll be participating in the ITU Radio Communication Conference, which is held between 3 and 5 years. Honorable members, after Cabinet approval, South Africa hosted the prestigious International Philately Conference here in Cape Town in November of 2022. This was a stamp show which attracted about 1,000 stamp collectors under the theme South Africa's Road to Democracy, through the stamps that were issued around the globe in support of the struggle for liberation in this country. In conclusion, Honorable Chair, among the many lessons learned from the indestructible spirit of the people of Langa is that we should not allow ourselves to drift into accepting any divide to characterize our society. It is absolutely essential that this digital economy is inclusive and no one is left behind because, to paraphrase an African proverb, if the young are not initiated into the tribe, they will burn down the village just to feel its warmth. And I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable GP. TM, thank you very much. The Honorable T.T. Kumbo is the next speaker. Just before Honorable Kumbo, I'm marveling at some members here who are reminding us of those good old acts and good old laws of floor crossing. Floor crossing, 2002. I'm reminded of that. Honorable Gumbo, you can continue. We can go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister and Deputy Minister, honorable members, fellow South Africans. It is without a doubt that modern day developments in science and technology are fundamentally altering the way people live, how they connect, how they communicate, and how they transact. This has had profound effects on economic development, negative and positive. Nevertheless, technology impacts almost everything we do, and it is underpinned by global economic advances and improvements in areas such as health, education, and infrastructure, amongst others. In the annual celebrations of the National Technology Day on the 11th of May, Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi of India alluded their government remains committed to investing in technology and strengthening their scientific institutions as they are fundamental to addressing societal challenges and fostering economic growth. The World Bank estimates that every 10% increases in mobile internet penetration in Africa could generate a 2.5% increase in GDP. Currently, over 60% of Africa is covered by 4G mobile phone networks, with an estimated 570 million internet users. However, accessibility and affordability of ICT infrastructure and the cost to communicate remain challenging for many, particularly those residing in far-flung and peripheral areas. This is why the ANC remains committed to seeing the South African Connect project expand and doing more for our people. We welcome that the department, supported by the relevant state-owned entities such as Broadband, Infraco, Centec, and the State Information Technology Agency, SITA, will continue to provide broadband connectivity to 970 government facilities over the MTEF period through phase 1 of the South African Connect project. Furthermore, an additional 3 billion in 2023-2024 and 2024-25 is allocated to the department to implement phase 2 of the project for capital equipment and new fiber infrastructure, or to lease existing fiber to expand ICT networks into underserviced areas. We call on the department to work with speed to ensure that the most rural parts of our country get to leverage this program so that young people in particular are able to assess the various opportunities that exist for them through online platforms, be it to look for employment, to start a business, or to facilitate and process for school-related applications. Through phase 2 of the South African Connect, we also wish to see SITA upgrading and connecting government sites as well as the Independent Communication Authority of South Africa, ICASA, imposing universal service obligations on mobile network operators to connect 18,036 schools, 3,873 health facilities, and 8,241 tribal authority sites. Both for phase 1 and 2 have been allocated 3.8 billion over the next 3 years. Honorable Chairperson, high levels of structural inequality and economic marginalization continue to plague our society. This means that many advancements might be made and the infrastructure be implemented, Many people, particularly the poor in the lower strata of society, still cannot afford the price of data. We implore the department to have continuous negotiations with the telcos and the Competition Commission to significantly drop the price of data. Equally, we call on ICASA to fast-track the second phase of spectrum auctioning, and we recommend to the minister to propose a policy directive that is going to accommodate the smaller telcos for inclusivity and create competition to minimize the monopolization of the sector by more prominent players such as Vodacom and MTN. We also request that the Ministry and Department of Communications and Digital Technologies adequately address and attend to all impending issues raised by the court that has stalled the finalization of the analog switch-off process. We look forward to hearing the pronouncement of the next new final switch-off date in the remaining 4 provinces, that is Western Cape, Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, and Gauteng province. The delays in these projects have negatively affected the country's ICT sector development. We have seen that the delay in the switch from analog to digital TV transmission has held to network congestion in South African economic hubs, particularly in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. In addition, migration to digital TV is an essential step towards making available the 700 megahertz to 800 megahertz radio frequency spectrum bands currently occupied by the analog TV signals. When digital migration of the television signal is completed, it will release new frequencies for 5G and reduce the cost of data, thereby paving the way for the realization of affordable high-speed internet access for all. We are encouraged by the President's pronouncements in his State of the Nation address that commitments made by the several companies during the investment conference we have held in the country have resulted in them investing in new factories, call centers, solar power plants, undersea fiber-optic cables, expansion of production line, and the adoption of new technologies. It is also exciting to see the inclusion of women in the sector. As part of our role is to ensure that it is conducive and allows for the inclusion of the marginalized women, youth, and persons with disabilities in the main. We welcome that 44% of the set-top boxes installers enterprises are women-owned. We trust that they will fast-track the process of ensuring that qualifying and registered households are installed with digital decoders nationwide. Government must ensure its effort to reach everyone across the country through public awareness and registration campaign that they have been carrying out using different platforms such as radio, TV, print media, mobile network operators, through SMS and door-to-door. In conclusion, Chairperson, Honorable Chair, and Honorable Members, the ANC welcomes the expenditure in the ICT Policy Development and Research Program is set to increase at an average annual rate of 1.4% from 45.3 million in 2022-23 and 47.2 million in 2025-26, thus enabling the department to continue to provide a supporting and enabling legislative environment by developing relevant policies, strategies, and legislation over the MTEF period. This will include finalizing the audiovisual bill, introducing the South African Broadcasting Corporation Bill to Parliament, submitting the digital economy framework and strategy for approval to Cabinet, finalizing the National Cloud Computing Policy, and developing the Postal Service Amendment Bill. Lastly, if Honorable Tambo was on that oversight visit, you will know that we received. No, you know that I'm not panicking. No, if Honorable Tambo was in that oversight visit, you will know we call the EF councillor who received us. Is called EFF mayor and not municipal mayor by the chairperson. But I think that is the matter of another day. Thank you, Chairperson. Noribu.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. With powers now fully vested in me as the presiding officer. Yes, I now call the AIC. AIC is not here. Honorable Member Cope, we are not given the name. Okay, that's noted, honorable members. Honorable Member MGE Okay, just hold on, Honorable Hendricks. Honorable Hendricks, just hold on a bit. Yeah, you can take your seat there and just relax there. Honorable Madisha, your name is written in a pen here. And I'm told that you are allocated 3 minutes to say whatever you want to say. Over to you.
Good will and that.
Yes, relevant.
Yeah. No, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Moving around and alleging to be looking for advanced researchers and consultants is a bit more than 30 million, which is allocated. The department has well-equipped people whose continuous skills development needs can be done in-house instead of sidelining workers who possess the identified skills. As it has been proven, the majority have all the skills, and if you were to get other people that which we get throughout, which is corruption and actual theft, will be promoted. It is unfortunate that South Africa's digital steps are put at the same level as what is happening in BRICS. And if we follow that, that will become a problem. Why? Because those countries are far much advanced, they are rich, whereas when it comes to South Africa, we are very far much down, if one were to put it in that way. I've actually, for a period of 9 years, in this parliament pleaded that the department must contribute in the reduction of the more than 700 unnecessary SOEs, which will go on and create problems in our country. And this department has contributed as well. Although I'm talking about 700 SOEs, this department too has a lot of SOEs which are extremely unnecessary. SABC is very important to the ordinary people of South Africa, particularly the working class and the poor in townships and the rural areas. As we debate here, as we speak of digital technology, they are watching generations Mubango, sport, and waiting for the news. But instead of us acknowledging and respecting what those poor people must, without a doubt, access, some among us agree to reduce members of staff, cut their salaries, promote whatever they want to promote at that particular level.
Honorable Madisha.
Thank you very much.
Relevant.
Sorry.
Thank you very much for dishing out, Honorable Madisha. Honorable MGE Hendricks.
Honorable House Chair, last time you told me to do the right thing and I'm here. And when I'm here, you send me back to my seat. But that is fine. I'm very happy the Minister of Communication is here because you will block the interference when you tell me your time is up. And I'm thrown out of this house because I couldn't hear the previous chairman. I hope the minister will do his job and make sure that I hear you when you tell me my time is up. Honorable House Chair, the digital agenda your ministry is responsible for holds a number of the solutions South Africa needs, and that is to build a smart nation. Government departments cannot work in silos. Your present minister must be felt wider in all departments. So let us advise you to build a pipeline of transformation by preparing youth in primary schools all the way to university for the fourth industrial revolution. Support youth who don't make the transition after matric with digital skill certification to be globally employable. There are no jobs in South Africa, so go to work outside South Africa. Support girls and women with digital skill certification to be globally employable. Design and implement a scheme for global remote internships. Design and implement a scheme for global remote jobs, as our captains of industry are not creating jobs here in South Africa. Our Honorable President said in Isona in 2022, we need a new abnormal. You were there, you were in the presidency. I repeat this because we need to focus on the digital economy that is beginning to require many traditional job opportunities, and the new ones that are being created place skills in this area as mandatory. The jobs we have today will not exist in 2030. The Stone Age jobs we still have in South Africa will eventually disappear. So, Honourable Minister, you were in the presidency then. Now, as Minister of Communication, you can implement the vision of His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa. We can learn from our neighbors deploying smart labs, incorporating coding, robotics, artificial intelligence, numeracy, and literacy. Al-Jamaah's executive mayor in the city of Joburg, when he was political advisor to 3 mayors, one who died from COVID and 2 in car accidents, convinced them to embrace the fourth industrial revolution. They implemented his plan to form a city structure which is ready to start implementing well-researched plans. The minister must assist municipalities, and the city of Johannesburg is ready to be assisted. The new abnormal minister is about creating our future. I recommend this to our honourable new minister. Al-Jamaah supports the budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Hendricks. You made the time. Honorable Malatsi, you've got 6 minutes. Oh, you are inducting me. Okay.
No, it was arranged.
Okay, you don't brief the new presiding officer, Jason Demwileke. Okay, 6 minutes and 30 seconds.
Thank you very much, Chair. It is ironic that the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies is struggling to live up to its name and fulfill its basic mandate. While the world over, digital technologies are used as core contributors to job creation and providing user-friendly services, the South African Department of Communications and Digital Services is still stuck in the primitive era of stagnancy. This department is supposed to spearhead government services towards digitization and leveraging ICT as a key enabler for inclusive economic growth. Yet any assessment of every metric of government's use of technological interventions will reveal the obvious truth that it lacks both the infrastructure and innovation to fully migrate to digital services. The department is overpopulated with multiple state-owned enterprises, many of which we can do away with by streamlining their functions for a more focused and maximum results. Yet instead of amalgamating some of these entities for a much leaner and effective centralized focus, the department will now have another entity in the form of the State Digital Infrastructure Company and the State Digital Services Company. As things stand, the department is currently unable to conduct vigilant oversight over the army of state-owned enterprises in its portfolio to ensure that they function as optimally as they should. On the other hand, there is nothing as regular as load shedding in our country, as is the reshuffling of ministers in this department. The appointment of Minister Ngungubele means that he's now the 14th minister in this department in 14 years. This is definitely a contender for the Guinness World Record. But on a more serious level, this is not the way to achieve organizational stability. The cumulative effect of this has been endless conflict between different ministers and some of the management of these state-owned entities. To aggravate matters, the department is yet to appoint a director general. All of these factors contribute to the general state of mediocrity engulfing the department, where poor performance goes unpunished. And where there is no accountability, unfortunately, unethical conduct in the public service continues and wrongdoing always thrives. All the while, millions of rands of taxpayers' monies are then lost in very lucrative investigations that are wasted investigating the rot planted by beneficiaries of CADA deployment. One of the worrying developments in the department and its entities is the ever-growing number of accounting and financial management concerns, which have been highlighted by the Auditor General. From the SABC to CETA to SAPO and the Post Bank, they are all beset by material irregularities, some of which have led to arbitration and court proceedings due to a legacy of wrongdoing that has compromised the financial sustainability of all these entities. However, on a positive note, we welcome the appointment of the SABC board. The filibustering efforts by the president to delay the finalization of the appointment of the SABC board must never be allowed to happen again. In this case, credit must go to the portfolio committee for delivering a pool of diverse, skilled and competent individuals to be part of the current board, despite some unprecedented bullying by the presidency and the ministry. The executive must respect the separation of powers that empowers legislators to do our work without any fear or favor. Simply because the executive does not like the outcomes of a fair, robust, and credible parliamentary process does not give them powers to stonewall the work of government. Minister, a government that respects the rule of law and appreciates the doctrine of the separation of powers does not need to be dragged to court to do the right thing. It does it because it is the right thing to do. We all agree that the SABC is a strategic asset of national importance. While we may often disagree with how certain operational matters are handled and complain about the disproportionate coverage we get, we must all fight to protect the editorial independence of the SABC. The SABC is far too important in educating, informing, and entertaining our society to be handicapped by overzealous political interference masquerading as executive oversight. Where the SABC deviates from its mandate and values, we will not flinch in holding both the board and the management accountable. We just have one plea to the SABC ahead of the 2024 elections. Please cover us all fairly and impartially. Honorable members, we need to work together to eliminate the cumbersome red tape that is driving high data costs to enhance meaningful access to the internet for poor South Africans. To this end, the DA's vision is to position South Africa as the innovation and technology hub of Africa by advocating for more affordable data costs, faster connectivity for all South Africans, closing the digital divide by reaching higher levels of competency and skills, and pushing for rapid digitization of government industries and the private sector. The reality is this department has a lot of potential, but it has been let down by the constant shuffling of ministers by a successive ANC president to provide the leadership it needs. Perhaps it will only reach its potential with a new government that will prioritize South Africa's quest for digital competitiveness and innovation comes to power in 2024. And at the rate that the post office is closing branches, Minister, there won't be a post office of tomorrow. Branches are closing all over. And the digital advances that its competitors have made have left the post office behind. It's been sleeping for the past 10 years because it hasn't been able to adopt the innovative interventions that it needs to be a reliable courier, to be a reliable mover of post and packages for the South African public. So for many people who have the option to use a private service, they've already left the post office because it is unreliable. So all that talk about the post office of tomorrow might never come true. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Malatsi. Honorable Kubeka. You've got 12 minutes.
Honorable House Chairperson, Honorable Minister and Deputy Minister, Honorable members, fellow South Africans. In his budget speech earlier this year, the Minister of Finance, Honorable Enoch Godongwane, indicated that South Africa is seized with load shedding, which has become more persistent and prolonged, impacting service delivery and threatening the survival of many businesses. Furthermore, households are under pressure from the rising cost of living, and unemployment remains stubbornly high. At the same time, our economic growth by an estimated 2.5% in 2022, indicating an upward by an estimated revision from the 1.9% projection in the 2022 MTBPS. More still needs to be done through the progressive approach that our government has taken of using a whole of government approach of tackling unemployment and reducing poverty. Through various measures and initiatives, we have seen our government providing opportunities for young people while at the same time lobbying the private sector to increase its contribution to employment, particularly for young people all across the country. We are happy that over 1 million opportunities have been delivered through the presidential employment stimulus. These include jobs created, work experience provided, livelihood strengthened, skills developed, and small business owners supported and promoted. These opportunities are helping to provide for poor and are capitalizing the economic recovery of local and informal economies, more so in the township and rural areas of our country. A report released this year by Stats SA revealed that South Africa unemployment rate decreased by 0.2 of a percentage point to 32.7% in quarter 2022 compared to quarter 2020 in quarter 3 2022. While is this not a drastic decrease, it shows that our government's initiatives have an impact. It is, however, concerning that women still represent the face of poverty and remain vulnerable in the labor market. Compared to men, and women are more likely to remain unemployed for extended periods, which eventually affects their chances of employment. Women are the most vulnerable in the labor market. Honorable Chairperson, with that being said, it gives us great pleasure to see that 44% of the set-top boxes installer enterprises are women-owned. The set-top box installation process employs local SMMEs and creates employment opportunities for youth and women across all 9 provinces. Capacity for installers has been enhanced across the country. These companies have created over 3,000 jobs since the inception of the project. The report by Stats SA also revealed that the level of education plays a vital role in the employability of unemployed person in the labor market. The findings suggest that unemployed persons with less than a matric level of education and a matric qualification have a higher likelihood of being in long-term unemployed than those with tertiary qualifications. Our government, together with its state-owned enterprises, such as the National Youth Development Agency and the National Electronic Media Institute of South Africa, amongst others, must strengthen its resolve and heightening the skills capacity we have in the country, working with our various institutions of higher learning by encouraging more young people to acquire various skills and knowledge, particularly in ICT related skills, which are regarded as the skills of the future. We are not that over the medium term. The Institute will focus on providing digital skills in collaboration with government, education, business, and civil society. The ANC welcomes the targets of our institute to train 9,900 citizens in digital technologies, 650 citizens in ICT skills-based program, and 440,000 citizens in digital literacy over the MTEF period. NEMISA must utilize a dynamic and futuristic research approach to continuously review its curriculum and learning programs to quickly respond to emerging and new skills required in the market. Research shows that in South Africa, there are two significant contributors of the local scarcity of certain skills. Expensive tertiary education results in a smaller proportion of the population receiving tertiary education. Low wages resulting in high-skilled workers leaving South Africa, employers for better paid jobs, and opportunities overseas. According to Career Junction, the job sectors in South Africa hit hardest by skills shortages are the information technology and finance sector. However, the shortages are being felt almost across the board, including in medical and health, engineering, etc. Looking at the IT sector, in particular, businesses and recruiters are particularly struggling to source skilled talent in the following: software development, technical, business architecture, database design, development, administration, system analysis, data warehouse, and business analysis. This gives rise to the burning need for our government to pay attention to the skills revolution and create a conducive environment for the skills gap to be addressed. For it left unattended, it might be a significant constraint on our prospects for achieving a kind of sustained economic growth that will open the way for much wider participation in economy, as well as reduce the triple challenges of poverty and unemployment. Against the backdrop, we welcome that other entities with the department have been playing their role towards increasing work opportunities and skills development opportunities through various training sessions and bursary allocation for a number of young people across the country. SETA spent 943,568 cents in 2022-2023 towards bursaries to external beneficiaries. 34 placement of youth awarded bursaries were placed in SETA as intends to fulfill their work back obligation. For 2022-2023, 2023-2024, SETA intends to recruit 180 interns through FACCET funding and 40 through MICT funding. 84 interns from 2021 have been converted to experimental trainees. There are currently 35 interns. SETA has also employed 84 graduates who completed the internship program as fixed-term contracts to enable them to acquire further work experience. USASA has employed 33 new graduates to be district coordinators across the country. While on the other hand, the Film and Publication Board during the 2022-2023 financial year has created opportunities for the youth in the form of internship, and in the near future, plans on having a learnership intake through relevant SETAs. FPB also awarded 83% of transactions to SMMEs and 36% of all awards were made to businesses owned by women and youth. Furthermore, workshops were held with suppliers every quarter, during which they were empowered with information regarding conducting businesses with the state of positioning themselves to be better appointable. These are just a few of the department's intervention and some of its entities. The ANC appreciates they have yielded to the call to address the high levels of unemployment country has been riddled with, and we hope to see these efforts multiply in the current financial year. The ANC supports this budget vote 30. Before I can conclude that, I would like to say on the side of the DA understand that on the side of SAPO, we will keep on supporting the issue of the turnaround strategy because they are coming with the post office of tomorrow. So indeed, we need to support the issue of SAPO in order that it can get back to its feet. Don't forget that SAPO, it have not started now this recent years. It has a legacy. So we need to address all those things. So we can't say we will just leave it. The SAPO, we will continue support it. And Honorable Tambo, if you were managed to visit in the oversight in Kimberley, you can see that the SA Connect have managed to place a more important role by the department. They have managed to play a role also in the place known by Douglas. That's where also the post office have managed also to work there. There is no post office which is closed. Honorable Chairperson, I thank you.
Okay. Honorable members, for the next 10 minutes, our ears and eyes will be borrowed to the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I thought it would be important that maybe I share with South Africans. Let me first thank all of you for the constructive engagement on this very important item. Again, you have demonstrated that ours is a robust democracy. We must always appreciate that. The physics which I once tried to do taught me that progress is only possible when opposite activities take place. And then the resultant force then get determined in that direction. So we always derive happiness when there are these debates. I thought it would be important to share with South Africans that we are going on in corporatizing the Post Bank. The amendment bill is in process, which is one particular stage of licensing, and which will enable us, which will enable the registration of the bank controlling company for the Post Bank in terms of Section 43 of the Banks Act. This is the last step in the banking license application process, which is intended to see Post Bank awarded the fully fledged banking license. This is important because stats do still confirm the fact that 67% of the adult population in our country find commercial bank fees still very expensive. 23.5% of population remain excluded from our banking system. It is also important to note that 62% of our SMMEs still cannot access credit facilities. Even the 38% that access, 81% still cannot access quite a significant number of those facilities. I thought it is important to raise that. So what is also important is that, having listened to members, reminded me of the Presidential Commission, which was launched in 2018 for Fourth Industrial Revolution, and his report. It reached a point that rather it saw it important to center the requirement to invest in our country as primary in anchoring this on two related features of the nation, which is the societal well-being and economic competitiveness. In other words, saying that this is what we should actually focus on. We spoke about investment in infrastructure, the billions that the foreign investors are doing in this area, whether it's cloud services, data services, and so on, and actually reducing the cost of our intervention as SA government. Rather than doing the cloud service, what we do, we focus on the essential issues that matter and rely on that infrastructure. Now, again, there is an attempt to indicate that ours is just doom and gloom. Now, if you look at that commission's report, when it speaks about these two outcomes, on the economic competitiveness, it would say to you, South Africa's global position on economic competitiveness improved in 2019, with the country going up 7 places to 60 out of 141. It further says South Africa is placed, as we speak, at 46 of 149 countries in terms of innovations. This is a positive indication. These are independent. Private sector is a South African life. It's not an American life. So when you say private, I don't understand what you think you're saying. Those are South Africans. So it's happening in our country, in an environment where we are governing as ANC, right? So South Africa performs where it acknowledges our poor performance is in two critical areas, skills and health. That is where it indicates that 16.4 of employed South Africans are considered people working poor, 47 working force considered skilled. Again, when you come to the social well-being, you continue, it says 54% of population are internet users in South Africa. 84% of the population has access to improved water, and 73% to actually improve sanitation. I thought it is important to further say, as a matter of practical sense, we have improved. I'm talking about the social well-being now. This country, we have improved the turnaround times in the process of water use licenses application from an average of 300 a day to the current situation where we are processing 70% of application within 90 days. We have also eradicated the old backlog of water use licenses. We have unblocked some major national water use infrastructure projects that were delayed. For example, funding solutions have been found for Mzimvubu Dam and then Umkomazi project in KZN. The latter has been made affordable through blended finance arrangement put in place by the Infrastructure Fund, in terms of which the project will be. I just want to highlight in the area of social well-being that there are major interventions that are being made, and we really appreciate the leadership of Honorable Minister Senzo Mchu. Now, we've said in my speech, listed what SETA is doing in terms of the 6 billion investment and the 3 billion that has been given also for SA Connect. All these are the things we're doing to actually try to create this environment of economic competitiveness and so on, which is very, very important. And I'm saying we can sit here, try to deal with all the incidentals that have got a potential to defocus us. We will refuse. We are going to make sure that we accept fair criticism, but make sure that we spend more time actually putting the post office on the right path, which is what we are doing now. I thought it was important to say, for instance, and when you say, for instance, post office should not be trusted, you are actually casting aspersion on a South African institution for the hatred of a party. And it's got implications for the country. I'm sure our politics don't go this far. So you don't go in America and say, don't trust FNB or don't trust Reserve Bank because you're angry with the ANC. Because you are dealing with the institutions that are very critical for revival. This post office served no less than 700, worked with no less than 700 million SMMEs. At the same time, it processed no less than 6.9 grants for beneficiaries and so on. So I'm saying, you can attack us for poorly running it. But if you send a message that don't trust it, it's a problem, because I also wanted to respond to Honorable Vessel. Honorable Vessels, although we've got a confirmed information, the post office is operating as we speak. Yeah, no, we got it. So, secondly, the other one of Peterson is a private what to call entity where the owner stole the catch. That's why it's not operating. It's not a government what to call. It's not a government post office. Yeah. So. So, having said all that, honorable members, I think we should continue engaging. I think we need to continue engaging in this constructive way. I can tell you, the house that is under challenge now was constructed by the African National Congress. It will only be rebuilt and reconstructed by the ANC. All other people are architects of a house. They don't know how it has been constructed. We're very confident. We've accepted our weaknesses and we're on the move to intervene and deal with it. Based on that, we will refuse to actually be diverted by incidental. But having said that, I want to thank you, all of you, for the great participation, both ruling and opposition.
Thank you very much, honorable members. Please be reminded that Home Affairs budget debates are going to be taking place at Good Hope, 5:15 this afternoon. This concludes the business of today, and the mini plenary is now concluded. Thank you very much.